Nancy Pelosi. She's arguably the most powerful woman in the history of American politics. And now she's stepping down. So today, we're going to break down the end of this incredible era and figure out what her 4-decade legacy really means for Washington.
San Francisco, know your power. That was the message Nancy Pelosi left with her constituents after nearly 40 years as their voice in D.C. With her decision not to run for re-election, she is closing the book on a career that was, well, nothing short of historic, and yet often pretty controversial. So you might be asking, why is this one retirement such a big deal? Well, it's because this isn't just about one person leaving their job. Her departure signals a huge, almost seismic, generational shift in American politics. It leaves this massive void of power and experience. So let's dive in, right from the beginning. Okay, to really get a handle on her impact, you have to start with her historic, barrier-shattering climb to the very highest levels of power in Washington. You know, she actually got a relatively late start in politics, first getting elected at 47, but her rise was just incredibly fast. By 2003, she was the first woman ever to lead a major party in Congress, and then in 2007, she completely shattered what everyone called the marble ceiling, becoming the first female Speaker of the House in U.S. history. And let's be super clear about what this job actually is. The Speaker of the House isn't just some fancy title. It's the only congressional job that's actually named in the Constitution, and it's second in line to the presidency, right after the vice president. So we're talking about immense constitutional power, and Pelosi held that gavel not once, but twice. Okay, so power is one thing, but what you do with that power, that's the real test, right? Using it to actually pass laws is the real measure of a leader, and this is absolutely key to understanding her legacy. I mean, just look at this list. From steering the country through the 2008 financial meltdown to masterfully wrangling the votes for the Affordable Care Act, her fingerprints are all over the most important laws of this century. And what's truly incredible is that she often did this with the thinnest of majorities. It was like walking a political tightrope. And she did it time and time again, pushing through these enormous bills on everything from infrastructure to climate change. And her colleagues definitely noticed. Her fellow Californian Adam Schiff put it really bluntly, basically crediting her as the master strategist who turned progressive ideas into actual signed law. All that skill in getting laws passed? Well, it also set the stage for what became maybe the most dramatic and defining role of her entire career, being the chief political rival to a president from the other party. When she took back the Speaker's gavel in 2019, her job became almost entirely defined by her direct and very, very public battles with President Donald Trump. For all intents and purposes, she was the face of the opposition. And believe me, that opposition was not quiet. We're talking about leading the House through not one, but 2 impeachments of a sitting president. And I mean, who could forget that image? Her standing right behind President Trump and just tearing her copy of his State of the Union address in half. Those moments really sealed her reputation as his #1 political opponent on Capitol Hill. So as you can imagine, all of this made her this incredibly polarizing figure. To her supporters, she was this brilliant defender of democracy, holding the White House in check. But to her opponents, she was the ultimate San Francisco liberal, a total lightning rod for all their anger and frustration. So now we get to the end of an era, and her retirement, it's so much more than just a personal choice to step back. It really is a major turning point, not just for the Democratic Party, but for Congress itself. Think about it. For decades, it's been Pelosi and her leadership team at the top of the Democratic Party. So her stepping down, it's the loudest signal you could possibly get that a new generation is about to take over. And now all of Washington is just watching and waiting to see who and what comes next. And the tributes, wow, they have been pouring in. Her successor as the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, he did not hold back. He called her iconic, heroic, trailblazing, and simply the greatest speaker of all time. And that praise came from the very top. President Joe Biden, who worked side by side with her on some of his biggest legislative wins, has said over and over that he thinks she's simply the best speaker in American history. But, you know, maybe Senator Schiff said it best. He brought up that famous line about Ginger Rogers, saying that Pelosi did everything her male predecessors did,
But, as he put it, she did it backwards and in heels, which just perfectly captures the extra challenges she faced as a woman breaking through in a world of men.
Look, Pelosi's exit leaves a vacuum of power, of skill, and just raw political know-how that is really hard to overstate. It raises this huge, critical question for all of us for the years ahead. As this incredibly powerful political generation finally steps aside, who is ready to step up and lead America into the future?